He did it. He did it again.
All right. Well, welcome back.
Welcome back. Welcome
Episode 16,
back.
Inky?
Episode 16.
Shall we?
Right. Let's go with it.
Is that what
Yeah.
it's called?
Episode 16. That's the name
That's
of
what
this
the
podcast.
album's called.
Yeah.
Wow. Nice.
Inky.
It's been a while since I've. Oh,
I was gonna say before we get into it. Sorry, Inky.
yeah.
you ever,
Yeah.
You know when they put like some podcasts put like the hottest take at the beginning of the episode to like get you intrigued, and
Yeah.
then like from the middle of the episode, we should do that with this show.
Starting here.
Starting
Awesome.
right now.
So you have fun
Pink
doing all the work.
Floyd is
I'll tell you to do
the
it.
worst band ever.
All right, here's our hot take.
There we
for the
go.
week.
That's it. Scratch that, we're done.
Let's see, shop's going well. Haven't been keeping up with it as much. The YouTube subscriber sale still ongoing. Labor Day around the corner. Why not take advantage of the offer? Get your favorite hardworking American a new record. That's the hot take of the episode. You guys have anything else?
James,
Website,
what were you saying?
app. Yeah, sorry, Seamus, go ahead.
I mean, I was just going to say something about the album. So,
Yeah, let's dive in.
Perfect transition.
yeah. Inky, or anyone else, do you guys have any background on it? Did you read any of the Wikipedia? Because I sure as hell didn't.
Yeah, I always try to before these episodes, and I was leaving Twin Anchors, which is like a 10-minute walk from my house, and I was like, shit, I haven't done it, and I read it on the way back. But I kind of knew all this stuff already because I'm pretty familiar with this album.
It's kind of where I was at too. It's a monster album for sure.
Pretty obvious themes as well.
Yeah.
No, I don't get it. Please explain.
Sure. Unless anybody else, we can all popcorn in. But Shining You Crazy Diamond is about Syd Barrett, who was a former member of Pink Floyd, one of the founding members, and left, like 7 years prior to this album due to mental health issues. And you know who told me this all back in the day was Joe McGuth. We listened to some Syd Barrett solo stuff together, and that is some crazy stuff. Like,
Didn't he have schizophrenia or something?
Yeah, he had schizophrenia. And so that's why he left. And the Shining You Crazy Diamond was about him, or at least originally really about him, but it kind of evolved more into just like the sad state of how you can get so disconnected in like modern society, and how like lonely it can be, and like just how you just lose everyone in your life. And yeah, so that's Shining You Crazy Diamond. And something
Real happy, bright album.
Yeah. A story I forgot about that I remembered reading this because it's in here, that Joe McGuth told me back in the day, and it was like, holy crap, that's crazy. And I think Dan already knows where I'm going with this, but I didn't know it was on June 5th, which is weird because that's my birthday. But on June 5th, 1975, they were finishing up the recording of Shining You Crazy Diamond, which is about Syd Barrett. And Syd Barrett walks into the studio, and he's like very overweight and bald and looks like a complete stranger. And no one recognized who he was at first. And then they were like, holy shit, it's Syd. And he's just like, everything he was saying, yeah, that's what he looked like when he walked in. And
it's a great meme.
When he visited the studio, and no one recognized him, and they all were like kind of like to tears, and everything he was saying just kind of made no sense at all. And they played Shining You Crazy Diamond for him, and he didn't understand how it was a reference to him at all. And they saw him like once or twice after this, and no one ever saw him again, which is just crazy.
Wow.
Good lore. Good lore from the
What do you mean no one ever saw him again? Like, did he die recently after that, or?
It's like a cryptid, like Bigfoot.
He kind of looks like Bigfoot.
Kind of looks
like I think like Roger Waters saw him in like a store at one point, and then
yeah, from my understanding, just kind of withdrew from public life.
Yeah, and like it was all like his closest friends, like all his bandmates, and they just never saw him again. And they're like, they're all for the most part like still alive, and like they just never saw him. Kind of crazy.
Do you guys get I've been getting a lot of schizophrenia ads on YouTube. Have you guys been getting that?
Jeff,
Like,
what's up with that?
like promoting schizophrenia?
by schizophrenia?
No, it's just like people think because I have schizophrenia I can't have a job, but I do this, blah blah blah. I think it's probably an ad for like an anti.
I
I think it's trying to tell you something.
The algorithm knows more about you than you know
It's
about
weird because the TV's
your other
off, but it's
personality.
still talking to me. It's crazy.
Dan, you want to talk about Welcome to the Machine?
Dude, yeah. So, yeah, Jack talked about Shining You Crazy Diamond, which was like 9 parts, 2 different songs, and they sandwich like these three really great tracks, like really great tracks in between them. And you have Welcome to the Machine, which, I mean, all these songs were, I think all lyrics were done by Roger Waters at this point. Like after Sid Barrett had left, him and Richard Wright kind of split duties on that, but post Dark Side of the Moon, this is like Roger Waters territory. But yeah, Welcome to the Machine and Have a Cigar are just like major critiques of the music industry and how it's just like so advantageous and so like predatory, and it's just like all predicated on greed. So really fits the themes that Pink Floyd are kind of like necessitating on this album of just like disillusionment. But yeah, some of my absolute favorites on this.
You know, you
Awesome.
kind of just put him on the spot. But no, nice work, Dan. I was just going to add that, you know, unless any of you guys wanted to talk about any of the individual songs, it's really the meat of the discography. This, Animals, Dark Side of the Moon, The Wall, the earlier stuff, like you were saying, Jack, is kind of that, you know, Stranger, a little bit less accessible Sid Barrett driven stuff.
Yeah.
And again, correct me if I'm wrong, here's just my understanding of it. And then beyond those 4, which are kind of their standout, the highlight of their discography, the middle of their career at their peak, it's, I don't know, I think it kind of peters out again. I think there was a falling out of the band, and it's primarily between Roger and David.
Yeah, like there was definitely like a lot of contention like in this album. Part of what Roger Waters was also going for, like when he was writing this, was that he had thought like the camaraderie that made the band great was kind of disappearing. Like there's so much infighting. Like it's Roger Waters is pretty infamous for his personality.
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys feel about him, but the dude's kind of a major dick.
Yeah, you know, it's always tough to like look back at, like, you know, you got to take them in like this time, because now it's he's just a dick now. Sucks.
Yeah.
Well, what makes him a dick now? Like just things he says publicly,
Yeah.
or like band member relationship.
That, I mean that too, but it's more of like his public persona that he's.
Yeah. He even decided like publicly that Pink Floyd was ended and like tried to sue and get the band like dissolved. Like he's like a real ego driven individual. I mean, he's got some great stuff to back it up, but his image is kind of fallen, I would say.
Yeah, there's like some stuff about like anti-Semitism as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like that like that's the type of stuff we're talking about. Like,
well, I guess we're canceled then.
Yep, we are.
I didn't know that. Why didn't you say that?
I was gonna say it's an F album anyway. So
All right,
Nigel,
good
the
save,
true-
good save, Nigel.
Yeah.
Good save.
I got us.
social justice warrior. Yeah. Besides that, but you know, Inky, you mentioned the meat of their discography. I would agree. I think I forget where I heard this. It might have been from Joe. It probably was, but at one point, some of the band members said that they really like nailed their sound on the second half of Metal. So specifically with like Echoes, if you ever listened to that song, I feel like a lot of people here have. Like that song is the kind of where they found it, and they locked in their sound with that, and then everything past that was like, I mean, you have what you just listed, all this amazing stuff. And I completely forgot the song before Echoes. It's called Seamus. That's just great. So I feel like
it's about a dog, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah.
Dude, it's what I tell people all the time. Like, I've met more dogs named Seamus than I have people. And then the song that is called Seamus is about a dog.
I mean, the only other Seamus I know has got 2 wooden arms and 2 wooden legs, and he's on Family Guy.
And there's that Seamus. Well, I also have 2 wooden legs. So
That's
I mean,
true.
you have that dog in you, you know?
You got glass legs, glass knees.
Yeah, yeah.
Glass
Wooden
I
legs
like
and
that guy
glass.
from SpongeBob.
Glass bones and paper skin. Anyways, I guess we're getting off topic. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go listen to this like right after because I haven't really listened to it really in depth in a while, even including up to this. But like, you ever think of like those first memories you have of music, like when you were like 4 or 5 years old and like being introduced to music? My parents had this on CD and they loved Pink Floyd, and this was one of those CDs that I really liked as a kid, and I would always play like "Have a Cigar" is one of my like the first songs that I have of like my memory of music, and that alone just kind of makes this like a standout album for me from like my personal life and growing up and being introduced to music. I don't think I really appreciated "Shining You Crazy Diamond" at all when I was 5 years old, but "Have a Cigar" is kind of a more approachable song. And then the rest of the album is just, I mean, "Wish You Were Here" is such a beautiful song. Like the acoustic and I don't know. It's all so great. I love this. I think this is one of the greatest albums of any artist of any genre of all time. This is like got to be up there. It's just so good. And I'm curious, Seamus, what your thoughts are, because you weren't really sure.
Yeah, how did I preface it last week? Just by saying that Pink Floyd's a band that I haven't listened to cover to cover.
I think you said they're trash and they're dog water. You want nothing to do with them.
Dog water.
Yeah, I think I've had mixed feelings, like just highs and lows listening to this album, and I think that there are some really admirable parts of it, and I think that a lot of my criticisms are probably just like the personal side of things, which is kind of how I always take these albums that you guys, any album that someone brings to the table and they have a lot of admiration for. Normally, I just attribute it to me missing things like lyrics. You know what I mean? And that's obviously a big theme with this album. But there's also a lot of instrumental parts too. I mean, "Shine On You Crazy Diamond" is 25 minutes of a 44-minute album, and a lot of that is instrumental. So I think one of my first takes for the album is, you talk about like accessibility, and it's definitely not like "Wish You Were Here" aside. And yeah, there's 2 other shorter songs, one still being 7.5 minutes. But it's not really like a radio hit, single, accessible album. So listening to it, I feel like for me, and unfortunately, like I was kind of distracted listening to it, or not distracted, but just like I didn't really get to have like a sit down, just listen to the record moment with it. So I kind of just have to take the album as a whole, and that's because it flows really well together, I think. Which is it better if you're gonna have a 13-minute song and then and then a 7-minute song. That's one side. So I think that's a big credit to the album. Is this whole I mean, would you say it's a concept album?
100%.
More or less?
Definitely.
I mean,
I think
yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I think to your point about approachability, I think this is approachable in the lens of a concept album. Like if someone wanted to understand what that is, this is what you would go to. Is my thought.
100% agree.
So I still think it's fully approachable, but just maybe not approachable like a Van Halen album.
Yeah, and just like a singles based album.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, "Wish You Were Here" obviously had a ton of radio success, as it should. Like you said, it's a beautiful song. It's tough again because like it's something that I was listening to like on my drive to work today, on my drive home from work. I got 2 or 3 listens. I think I got 3 or 4 listens to the album in today actually, and
Nice.
one last night. But again, like it's a bit of a slower pace for my taste, but it's a beautiful song. And I think like the one individual that I would focus on the most, especially not having a ton of insight into any of these guys, like Roger Waters, for example, you guys seem to be more knowledgeable about him. But David Gilmour is definitely someone that deserves to be talked about and is often talked about, but it's a much different style of, guitarist, or at least different pace than a lot of people I listen to. But again, like "Wish You Were Here" is the best example of beautiful guitar playing. I forget there might be some really cool just like layering in that. I forget if there's a 12-string being played, or if I'm thinking of something else. I think there's a different Pink Floyd song maybe. So I thought it was a cool album. Like you said, it's an approachable concept album. So you got to take that lens when you go to listen to it. It's not like, oh, here's this song, and then 3 minutes later, oh, different song.
Mhm.
And I would count that as a credit to the album. I mean that in a positive way.
Nice.
There.
So out of after listening to it 5 times, where do you stand with it? Coming from where you thought last week to now.
Without giving it like a rating yet,
Yeah,
I would say that it was easier to listen to than I maybe anticipated. Not saying that like I thought it was going to be a trash album, but my understanding before listening to this, because again, a lot of the Pink Floyd that I've listened to was probably in like middle school.
Mhm.
And I remember, and that was probably like I was less focused on going album or cover to cover on something. So I'm trying to think of another band that you'd have this. Rush is probably a band that you have the same issue with, where it's like if you just hit shuffle on their discography and you're just bouncing from like some of these songs out of context.
You're not
the
gonna have a
longer
great time.
pieces- Yeah, like Welcome to the Machine out of context probably I would think would suck. Just because like it's another one that's got like a really slow build up and some really kind of the whole album's pretty trippy. I mean, we joked about like everybody dropping acid to have to listen to it, and like I didn't do that, but
To be clear, yeah,
it would
a
be
joke. For all those future employers out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, this album is quintessential like stoner music or acid kind of rock. But I don't mean that in a way to discredit it either. I feel like some people would say
that's what it is. Yeah.
I feel like some people would say that in a way to discredit it, but
Yeah.
I think it just has that attribute because it is longer and drawn out. So, like my take on it, it's definitely not something that I'm going to be thrown on a ton. But at the same time, like I think if it had any place in my repertoire, it would be on vinyl. So like we could be like hanging out, and this would be a really good like throw it on, hang out kind of album.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Less so like I'm going to play this on the drive to work.
Yeah, I'm gonna mix these songs into the playlist during parties.
Yeah, it ain't that.
Yeah.
It's not that guy.
Trust me, pal, you're not that guy.
Yeah. So that's my take on it. If that's direct enough.
Yeah, no, that was great.
Curious to see where you come in on the tier list, Seamus.
What was your favorite song, do you think?
I would say it's probably the last one, which I feel like is kind of becoming like a habit of mine. But there is, I think it's the middle part specifically, in the last part. So whatever that is, like part 7 or 8, however that works, I don't really know where parts break into other parts. But there's a cool kind of like transitory guitar solo that I think is a good impression of David Gilmour, but yet less like cliche than like the Wish You Were Here. I would probably say my least favorite song might be Welcome to the Machine.
That's fair. Yeah.
And
Probably agree if I had to pick one. Probably that.
yeah.
Still love it though.
Jack, I'll let you get into it on your own take if you want, but I feel like you kind of alluded to like Have a Cigar being your favorite.
Yeah, I mean, I think like my opinion has evolved. I think that holds a special place in my like opinion of this album. But I mean, I just like Shine on You Crazy Diamond parts 1 through 9. Like the entire thing is just like so awesome. Every single part of it. The slow build at the beginning. It's just such an epic, and I love it. And I think it's up there as my favorite like Pink Floyd songs. There's a couple off of like Dark Side of the Moon that I might pick as my top, but Shine on You Crazy Diamond rocks.
Yeah.
If there was a textbook definition of progressive rock, I think this album would have a good claim.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah, agreed.
10 through 15 gets no love. It's kind of interesting you pointed that out, Seamus.
Are you
What
here to
gets
give
no
a love?
I said Gets No Love.
Yeah, are you here to give it some love? Welcome to the Machine, right?
No. I thought you were. Didn't you say your favorite song was "Shine You Crazy Diamond" part?
Yeah, I
11?
did.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah.
Thought it was interesting. But no, sorry, Nigel. Go ahead. You were about to.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'll go.
Yeah.
I think I have a bit of a different take or a different approach. Like, I think this album is pretty good. A couple of things that bother me about it is how like it's 5 songs, which I know is kind of, it's not a real criticism, but it's like,
Here we go again.
it's just like,
Yep.
I mean, it's like, it's just a couple songs, you know what I mean? And it's still like long enough to be an album, like time wise, but it's just kind of an interesting choice, I guess, to have these 2 songs that are each 5 parts or each almost 5 parts, and they're split up into the first song and the last song, and then you just have 3 songs in the middle. It's kind of interesting. I'm not going to say it's bad. I mean, it's purely a concept album for sure, because it's like an EP. It's not a traditional album size. And obviously the theming is pretty heavy, and the sound design and the thematic soundscape style is very like it's to a point, like it's very explicit what they're kind of like going for, I guess, their sound. But I really enjoyed listening to the album all week. When did we decide on this? It was almost 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah, it would have been last weekend, I think. So
Yeah. So I've listened to it a good amount just driving around. And as far as a favorite song, I don't know if I have a favorite song. I think all the songs are pretty good. I really like Welcome to the Machine.
Yeah.
I think Have a Cigar is the odd one out as far as the energy.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's like the worst song on the album. I just think it's the most different song compared to all the other ones. It's maybe the most traditional song. I can't. This is also prog rock, right? Like, I can't believe that this is also prog, because this doesn't sound anything like what we touched on last week. Because all I can think about is like Tom Sawyer, and then Wish You Were Here, and I'm like, or Shine On You Crazy Diamond parts like 6 through, or that 9. And I'm like,
I think the further back you go in Rush's discography, the more it'll sound like this and be stylized like this.
okay,
Like 2112, I think that's like a 23-minute song or something like that. Like, it just kind of hits on these broad, like you mentioned, soundscape. Like, that's a great word to describe what kind of sound they're doing. But it has high highs and low lows. Like, the beginning of Shining You Crazy Diamond takes like a minute and a half to go into it, while like parts 5 to 7, they hit really hard. And yeah,
and I mean, I appreciate that about this album. Like, I like darker music, and I don't mean that in like lyrically, thematically. Yeah, I just mean like the darker, slower sounds, the more like it takes time to like build and stuff like that. And I love the organ and the Rhodes and stuff on this album. The guitar is also fantastic, and it covers a broad range of like different sounds, essentially, right? It's filling different roles all over the place. And I like how they have it broken down, so like almost all of them have like tape effects. They're all messing around with the tape while they're recording, which I think is funny. But I thought the album was it's pretty fun to listen to. It's definitely up my alley, to be honest. Like, I think this style of music. I mean, I like Pink Floyd. I prefer Dark Side of the Moon. That's one of my favorite albums, and that's also like, I would say, even more of a concept album. And it's also like dark and synthy and weird and, trancey. But I had a great time listening to this album.
Nice. Good takes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you talked about the album size not being conventional. Do you mean that by song count? Because length, I mean, yeah, I was gonna say, because by length, like, it's comparable to I mean, wasn't 1984 was like 30 minutes long, right?
Yeah, that's rough. I think 32. Same with In Through the Outdoor.
But yet it was 8 songs. So
yeah,
very different layout. And then you compared it to Rush and how it's like crazy that they're both the same genre in prog rock, but like that's exactly what I mean. It's like certain songs out of context for Rush, you're just kind of like, this is not music. This is fucking, I don't know what this is. And I feel like I feel like Pink Floyd albums are probably laid out kind of like this, at least some of the other ones, right? Like,
what do you mean by laid out like this?
Like parts 1, 2, 3, 4. Isn't Animals kind of structured the same way?
Animals is, I'd maybe say the closest. I mean, there's a lot of albums of Pink Floyd that I don't really know, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, same. I was just looking at the discography, and there's so many.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But,
all right, Inky, break it down. What's going on? What's going on in your mind?
So my overall thought was that I look back upon the album more fondly than I actually enjoyed listening to it. Even last week when we suggested this, I was like, oh, easy ass contender with 1984. But, after listening to it, and in reality, I think I would sooner listen to 3 or 4 other albums, even just by them before this, which says a lot because I think it's a fantastic album. Their discography is just really that exceptional. I think, all of you guys have made great points thus far. I just have 2 MVPs I don't think anyone's touched on. So, first one, the cover art. No one's talked about the cover art.
So good.
So good. And this band just churns out iconic cover art. Every album is almost just like a cultural sign at this point. You have, obviously, the Prism, Dark Side of the Moon. This is probably second. And then maybe the Animals, the Floating Pigs. Then even the Wall is great. Even the Cow in Adam Heartmother.
Dude, the Cow is the best.
The Cow's the best. I'd get that tattooed on my head, but that's neither here nor there.
The Division Bell, another great one.
Division Bell's a good one. And I don't know if we talked about this, but obviously with the thematic, the prog rock, it's, maybe obvious, but, a businessman getting literally burned, for those of you that don't know. So cool stuff. They obviously put a lot of time and thought, energy, effort into the art there. My only other, I'm going to scroll back down. I want to point out
a note on the art. The CD that I grew up listening to, it had the alternative art, so it's the 2 robots doing a handshake. I never knew the other one, and it's like a little further up. I love that one, and that's what you see on the disc.
That's sick.
That's what the vinyl looks like, except it's a blue background, and it's awesome. It's another great piece of art. Like, that's the alternate, and it's that good.
Did you say that's what the vinyl looks like?
That's what the disc in the vinyl looks like. Yeah. So like the center of the vinyl, there's sometimes a little bit of shit there.
That's cool.
It looks like that, and blue in the back. It's awesome.
Yeah, good call.
Anyways, go ahead. Your other MVP.
Yeah, I also just wanted to shout out and love Have a Cigar. I don't necessarily think it's underrated, but it's for sure overshadowed by parts 1 through 5 and Wish You Were Here. And my favorite lyric is in there for sure. Band is just fantastic. That's really what I think. By the way, which one's pink?
Love that line.
So good. So good.
So good.
Probably so good. And it really just encapsulates the essence of the album, what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And I think that was pretty much it. Overall, I love the band. I don't have much to say for Nick Mason or Richard Wright, but I mean, Roger, although we talked about him being, a bit of a dick, he's brilliant. The construction of the albums is literal art.
Yeah.
And Gilmour is a guitar god. One of those guys I could listen to play, even just talk about playing the guitar forever.
Yeah.
So it's way up there for me for sure.
Yeah, I feel like he didn't really even get much mention in our Mount Rushmore episode, and he probably could have got more credit, unless I'm misremembering. But he's great.
It's too late now.
Yep.
They carved it already.
It is
It is set in stone.
Yeah, did we mention him at all?
I don't know if we did.
We fucked up.
Yeah.
I mean, I stand by my pick, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Put his name out there at least, but yeah.
All right.
Dan, you want to go?
Am I talking about this album now?
I think
Great.
it's your turn.
Yeah, I have like a similar relation to this album as Jack. Like I grew up listening to a ton of progressive rock and bands like Chicago, Pink Floyd. So I also just have vivid memories of listening to Have a Cigar. Like that's an awesome song. It's probably my favorite, like Pink Floyd album or Pink Floyd song. I mean, and like also by extension, like I think this is my favorite. Like it was really great to come back to this because I think "Shining You Crazy Diamond" is just the perfect example of an epic song. Like I think through and through, like I kind of didn't remember a lot of it, and of course, like it's 25 minutes. How much of it can you really remember? Oh, I remember what happened at like minute 5, second 25, where he does this like really cool guitar sound. It's like no. It's all about like the piece as a whole, and like especially listening to it at work today, it just kind of flew by. Like I kept like replaying the album every time. Like, oh man, let's go back again. Like it feels really short. Like it honestly,
yeah,
it's really great in making time pass. Like as Nigel said, it creates this like amazing soundscape. Like David Gilmour's a guitarist who says a lot with very little. Like he kind of just like floats on these notes. Has just a very open like sound that just really like brings you in. They incorporate a lot of really cool synth stuff on this album. Like I figured Nigel was going to be like, yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
Because I think it's even more so than like Dark Side of the Moon. I think they really like lean into it more as they like trend towards Animals and eventually The Wall. But
I think just to add a note to what you were saying, I listened to this album a lot the past week or so, and I listened to it on repeat a lot. And I think unintentionally, because it was designed for a record, it's very replayable because parts 6 through 9 just play right into parts 1 and 5 again, and then you don't even really notice, and then you're just listening to it again. And I love Welcome to the Machine, so then that kicks on. I'm like, well, I'm not gonna turn it off now.
Yeah, all rolls perfectly.
I said Welcome to the Machine was my least favorite. That doesn't mean I dislike it at all. I love that song if I had to. And I also totally agree, Dan, what you said about David Gilmour doing a lot with a little. Like I think that's such a good way of putting it. And how he floats in the notes. Like that's exactly what he's doing in this album. And it's amazing.
Yeah, because you get like one of the most iconic acoustic licks of all time in Wish You Were Here. Like I think it must have been like maybe a year and a half ago. I was just playing my guitar and like playing a G chord, which the song is like based around. And I just ended up playing the finger picking part accidentally. And I was like, wait, that's Wish You Were Here. And I was like, oh shit. And I just like figured it out by hand because it's just that's like awesome. That. It's so simple, but so great.
Yeah.
And like I really love his vocals as well. Like Welcome to the Machine has this kind of wail.
Yeah.
But like it's really great with like the crazy siren like synth sounds. And Wish You Were Here is extremely gentle. Like I think he's got a lot of range. But yeah, I think like coming back to this album, like it really might be my favorite. Like Dark Side of the Moon, like there's a case that might be the greatest album of all time to some people, But I've listened to that like a lot. Like as Seamus said, like I was listening to this in middle school like a lot. I was growing up listening to all this. So it seems like it's just a little bit too much for me. And coming back to this was extremely refreshing. So maybe I just got to go back to Dark Side of the Moon. I haven't done that in a while. But I'm more than content to continue to listen to Have a Cigar as I finish my Friday tomorrow.
Love it.
Can I just say that we had unbelievable taste beyond our years. We should all give ourselves a pat on the back.
Jack was listening to this when he was 5.
That's insane.
No, it's like the exact same shit.
His parents were putting fucking acid in his water too.
In my Cheerios.
You guys have never had acid Cheerios?
Let me tell you. Go to the grocery store right now.
Buy a bowl of acid. Drop Cheerios.
Inky, I wanted to bring this up because I remember when we were listening to The Dead, like you were a big fan of the other one, like the song. And I wonder if you caught how similar like part 6 or 7 of Shine On You Crazy Diamond is to the other one. Like the bass riff is very similar. And the first, like I would say like 5 minutes of the second half, the latter half of Shine On You Crazy Diamond kind of feels like a lot of the elements feel very deadish, but then in a different way, if that makes sense. Like it's kind of like a jam band in a sense. Like they're just jamming, and then it's a completely different style of guitar that's being played on top of it. But yeah, I was just wondering if you noticed the other one similarity.
He's definitely gonna say no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That went totally over my head. But I'm super intrigued. You know, I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it,
Same.
obviously.
So darn.
Yeah.
Oh darn. It just makes me imagine if, yeah, so you said the first 5 minutes of parts, you know, whatever that 11 through 15, they just, you know, 3 minutes in just go into therapy or something.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what Shine On You Crazy Diamond feels like. It feels like a completely different style of jam band almost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The way that they're breaking things down, the way that they're changing, and then these builds of, you know, rhythm and all these elements coming in and out. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
I bet seeing them live would have been a lot of fun.
Could you imagine in their heyday, like in 1976 or something?
Yeah.
Something like that. Wow.
Pay an arm and a leg.
Yeah. Things I could go back to. I think like if you could go back to 2 concerts, because one is too hard, would you go back? I would go back to this, and then like one of my favorite Dead shows, I think, would be like the top 2.
I think that might have to be another special episode. I don't know if I can answer that right now.
Oh yeah, wow, dude, I've thought about that. Like doing like I mean, you could do a Mount Rushmore, but that's an even better way to phrase it. Like if you could go back to 3 concerts, what would you go back to?
Got one
God,
time machine
maybe
token.
just
What is
Run it to
that?
live performances.
It's like
Yeah.
a Bill and Ted's
Yeah.
Excellent Adventure, but us and going to
Great
see
movie.
concerts.
Yeah, going to different concerts. That's great.
Nice.
Yeah.
Shall we rate?
Shall we rate?
Yeah, unless you don't have anything to add, Jack.
I think I said my piece at the beginning.
Fair.
I love it. It's one of my favorite, if not my
There you
favorite album.
So Roy, I see Roy Harper on lead vocals. Is that the song, the Led Zeppelin song? Isn't there a Led Zeppelin song, Hats Off to Roy Harper?
Yeah,
Yeah.
same guy.
Wait.
Yeah, is that a reference to him? I'm assuming.
That's off to parentheses. Roy Harper. It's got to be
We're
right.
about to
Interesting.
go down a rabbit hole. Here we go. Jimmy.
The Harvest Years.
It's like just common enough of a name that it could be a different guy, but it's also at the same time from the same country.
It's probably not a
Hats
different.
no.
That's
So
a
hats
nice
off.
catch, though, Seamus.
Hats Off is a compilation album by Roy Harper. It's an album by Roy Harper.
Oh.
Is it on Spotify? I don't see it. Oh, that's even crazier.
And he's got an album called Death or Glory, written the same way that the Clash's album is.
I gotta listen to this Roy Harper guy.
Right here. 2001. Look
That's
at that. Look at that.
Wow. And
Interesting.
what's the songs on here? Death or Glory.
Damn, look at this.
Hey, you got Jimmy Page and David Gilmour.
And Kate Bush. And Keith Moon.
Yeah.
Wow.
Insane.
The album title refers to the tributary song.
Oh, okay. Different guy.
Very cool.
All right, I'm gonna go to
The rating.
Paul Jones.
Wow. We've got a nice little collection. We've done some episodes.
We have.
On about 16 to be exact. Well, actually more than that, I guess, if you aren't counting some of the dead ones that we've done. But anyways, Where are we putting it, boys?
Who knows?
Need a starting
Who knows where
point.
he's going?
Find out next week.
All right,
After this
time for an
commercial
ad.
Perfect ad slot.
That is a perfect ad slot, Inky, if you want
yeah.
to work on that.
Inky, do the work for us, please. Thank you.
I think we need a certain amount of views before we can put ads on our videos.
We need more than single digits.
I think it might be total watch time or something that we need. I don't know.
It's a multitude of things. Yeah.
You would know. You would know.
I've been getting calls. I just haven't accepted any yet.
Yeah, it's harder to get.
Guys, we're moving to Twitch. Okay.
BP.
I think it's an S personally.
Whoa! Slow
Yeah,
down
hot
there,
take.
cowboy.
Where in the S?
Top of S.
Top of S.
Wow.
This is the
Move 1984 down to C.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's an S too. I'm confident it's an S. I don't think it's better than 1984, and I think it's
My guy.
I think it's better than what's the other- Moving Pictures.
Doesn't even remember the name of it. Can't be
Yeah.
an S.
I think it's better than Moving
Bad
Pictures.
sign for sure.
But the other thing is like it's 5 songs. It's like, okay, well, if you get to just pick the 5 best songs, it's a lot easier to have a flawless album. You know what I mean?
But it doesn't matter. It's 44 minutes of music.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree
I
with
know.
that take.
It's also
Yeah,
the song is 9 parts. Like it could be considered 9 songs. They just named it.
No,
that way.
well, I didn't say it's not going in S. Okay,
I
just
know.
said
I know.
Or
I shouldn't.
you could consider it as one song, and there's only 4 songs on the album.
yeah,
Yeah.
which is even worse. Wow,
Right.
this album sucks. Yeah, I think it is. I think it is better than Moving Pictures. So I'd put it in the middle of S.
I feel obliged to vote objectively because I think objectively it is in fact an S. It's like for me personally, I wouldn't put it there in the sense that like this is probably not something I'm really gonna listen to many times a year. Even I mean, if I had it on vinyl, even. But personal preferences aside, it is like the like just the perfect concept album, you know what I mean? Trying to think of the word. Quintessential concept album. And it's one of the focal points of their discography. Again, David Gilmour, just really some of his best work, I would say, is probably in this. So I mean, it sounds like a unanimous S, right? I mean, excluding my vote.
Sorry, there's this big ass bug that's got in my room. It's like this giant fucking bug. sorry to. I want to
In
go.
that giant
Good
room
now.
you're in, with all that glass and a stairwell.
Yeah, in
Wow.
the studio office in Switzerland.
Inky, what's your take? Sounded like you were not going to go S. Sounded like you were going to go A.
Yeah, I think you're kind of right there. It could be a range depending on the day. I think I could go from top of S to mid A. I think what's kind
Top
of
of
holding
S?
me
Or bottom?
top of S. Yeah, it's a mid A.
Oh,
It
sounds
is like the range I'd be
Fickle.
from day to day. I think the only reason I'm having trouble putting it in S so easily is because I'd probably put The Wall and Dark Side of the Moon above this.
Yeah.
And I don't know about 3 Pink Floyd albums in S.
I think Dark Side of the Moon is definitely an S. I think The Wall is a great album. It's not my favorite album.
That's my least favorite.
I don't really like the sound of it.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good
Roger
album.
Waters went a step too far there.
Think so, yeah.
Dude, that bug would not die. Holy crap. I had to beat it with a book.
Did you shoot it?
50 times. It was like this big. It's all in the pieces
what was
on my
it?
carpet. I don't know. It
Show
looked
us.
like a hornet, but it didn't have the colors. It was like a hornet, but all brown.
So is it
Did
brown?
it have like a
hornet?
stinger?
They have a Glock?
It had a Glock, yes. I beat him with a
Chicago,
book.
man.
Chicago. I felt bad. He was really trying to stay alive. I killed him with a book.
Dan, what you got? I think your last year.
Yeah, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also clearly an S, and like I think there's like a good case for it to be made in like any of these positions, like either bottom of S, in between 1984 and Moving Pictures, or at the top. And like I just think as an album, it's selling me that it's better than 1984 right now. I would also go with Jack
Wow.
and petition for top of S.
I'm just thinking, like, if this doesn't go above 1984, is there any album in the world that will go above?
For Seamus, it's like no.
I'm going blank.
Not buying any say in it.
I'm shooting everything down.
I love that right now.
His intentions have become clear.
Dude,
We will defend that.
Based off the data here, it's clear that Seamus has the objective best taste in music. Rush and Van Halen. All facts point to Seamus.
The data do not lie.
Yeah, I don't know what's happened here, but this feels very swayed to my tastes.
Yeah,
I'm just persuasive, I guess. I don't know what to say.
and I am not, because I'm down at the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But hey, Dan's not far behind me.
to Keith's point,
Never mind.
right? Like, like objectively, I'm probably going to concede to you guys because I think there's a lot to admire, and a lot of people do admire it. Would you guys, like, when you guys are ranking this, are you ranking it like subjectively, like, to your personal tastes?
A little bit of both, I'd say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
Probably both.
Kind of has to be, you know.
Yeah,
It's unavoidable.
that's music.
Yeah, because I'm in a weird spot here because I'm looking at what's on the board, and like I would probably listen to this less than multiple things in B. But
Yeah,
like,
I feel like we do talk about like re-listenability as a important part of these albums, but I feel like Pink Floyd albums are an exception to that rule, and the fact that they like hit so hard when you listen to them like more infrequently.
Mhm.
And that just might be like concept albums in general, but I feel like Pink Floyd is something I like to listen to rarely because it's so good when I do listen to it.
Yeah.
Because I agree, I would listen to London Calling and Through the Outdoor way more than this.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
it's-
it's kind of like it's like listenability or replayability is like on the other side of a balancing act with like impact or something along that line.
I see what you're saying.
you could say it's like quality versus quantity, you know.
Yeah, but
Well,
also
I mean, I don't know if I would put it that because I mean, it's not like 1984 is good quality, you know, but it's fucking easy to listen to. But I'm
Well,
not.
it's both.
It's not
And
going
that's what
to
sounds
change my
fun.
life. You know what I mean? Pink Floyd's changed a lot of people's lives. I feel like.
Not
Well,
good quality.
dude, 1984 changed some lives. But,
Maybe for the worse. Maybe some drunk driving.
I mean, that'll definitely change your life. No, that's a great point though. Maybe I rate that too highly. Because it's the same thing I've said about the Beatles at this point too. It's like I don't listen to the Beatles that much anymore, but like fucking when I'm in the mood for them, I love them and everything about them. And when I'm in the mood, I can admire what they are. And I think Pink Floyd. I think that's the thing with Pink Floyd. I think you nailed it. Like, and that's what I've been trying to say. It's like you definitely got to be in that headspace, or I mean, I hope you're not like in that headspace because you've probably got a lot of fucking problems. But you've got to be in that mood and ready to. It's heavy. It's a heavy album.
Yeah, exactly.
I think a really cool, and it's kind of hard to measure, but a really cool like experience to have with listening to different albums, or maybe more specifically songs, is when you're just like out somewhere and you hear the song and you're like, wow, that's amazing. Like you didn't put it on and you weren't expecting to hear it. Because when you brought up the Beatles, like this was a couple months ago, but I was out, and I think it was before we even started recording these. So this was maybe like a year ago. And I heard like Norwegian Wood. And I was like, wow, this is like one of the most beautiful songs like I've ever heard. And it was, I didn't put it on. I was just like out somewhere. And I think that's kind of a different, I guess, way of interpreting the music when you're not expecting it. And you're just kind of just like, oh, like, what is this song that sounds really good, before, it plays 10 seconds and you realize like who it is or what song it is,
Yeah, that's cool. Ain't music awesome?
It's good stuff.
That's why we do what we do.
That's why we do this
Yeah.
project.
Hey, we're heroes.
I think it's 3-2, Seamus.
Yeah.
I'm kind of with you
Oh,
on the displacement, but
Damn.
yeah, I mean, it's 3-2.
Wow.
You
I said
also
it was
think-
below.
Oh, you said below?
I did say
Yeah, get
below.
fucked, pussy.
What a development we have going on at
Wait,
Who's
Go to
Records.
bar.
That's still 3. That's
Wait.
Inky, Dan, and I.
Yeah.
I
Did
said
Dan,
below.
wait, where did Dan say? Am I wrong?
Dan said,
no, you're right. You're
Ricky
wrong.
and
About
Nigel
what
said-
Inky said.
Yeah,
Okay.
Inky.
So where does it go?
right there. Or you could put it right under if you want. I mean, I just can't put it over.
There's no space over. It's just S there, so you can't.
Well, put it over the S then. Shit.
All right,
Ranking episodes.
D, C, B, A, and I wish you were here. Those are the rankings.
Yeah, I'm
All
sorry,
right.
dude.
We got baited into the top. Okay.
I think. I mean, I think these are. They could go back and forth on any given day, like what you're feeling.
Yeah.
They're both like different takes on how to make an album and what an album should be, and
Yeah.
they're both excellent at it.
Well said. And I can totally live with 1984 being about
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, that's fun.
It's a great
I
album.
now
We
have
understand,
an
we understand that it's all good.
Yeah.
All the things
Yeah.
are good.
I now have an unreasonable emotional attachment to that staying in the top spot
Oh,
just
fuck.
because of all the jokes we've made about
We got to
it.
knock it down. We got to knock it down.
Dude, I
At
don't
the
know
same-
what would.
I
Yeah.
mean, I think.
I can
House of
think
the Holy.
Yeah, I was thinking Led Zeppelin. I was thinking
Oh,
one or. I mean, House of the Holy is good too.
Seamus
Actually,
Holy
House of the Holy is
3.
great. Now that I think
It
about
might
it,
be the best Led Zeppelin.
that has some of my favorite Led Zeppelin songs.
I think House of the Holy or Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin 2, I think, is my favorite. And House of the Holy is a close second, if not first. I think it depends on the day.
I love
So-
Led Zeppelin.
Funny enough, probably like 5 minutes ago, I was just thinking about House of the Holy and how if we picked like the most like this divisive Zeppelin album to start with, I would say probably, aside from maybe Presence. But House of the Holy is probably the one that would have been maybe the most interesting. So it's I was just thinking about that 5 minutes ago. I got a couple other ones that I think would be like very strong S tier 1 seed candidates. Haven't done a Steely Dan yet.
True.
I mean,
True. Yeah. No police.
it is true.
Yeah,
No
I was thinking
Police.
Police.
I mean,
And
these are
Genesis.
speaking my language right now, man. I mean,
There's definitely
Um,
challengers hiding in the bushes. They're coming for you.
Okay. I'm scared.
so before we even pick an album, do you want to do something this Sunday or do you want to do something next Sunday? Or you know what I mean?
Thanks.
I'm
Plus or
Thinking
minus
about
a day.
today.
I'm gonna be busy this Sunday.
Okay.
I mean, so
No,
either
goes-
what about like Monday or like next weekend?
Well, okay, so I'm gonna be in a completely different time zone. So
Where are you gonna be?
you can do
We're all in
something.
different time zones.
Yeah, I'm gonna be in a completely different time zone.
Are you talking
so-
like, are you
Like
going away? And we
Martian
can't go?
time?
yeah, I'm gonna be on the fucking Mars. Yeah, we found aliens. We're going to war. Haven't you guys been watching the news?
Pretty sure their days are like 96 hours long or something like that. So
Ryan, you
Yeah,
can
that
say
way
it's
we'll
a
release this
rough
when you're
work
back
week.
from your
It's a
mission.
real rough work week. Their days are like 3 months long, and
the old 200-hour work week.
Really.
Ryan, is this the week
Oh,
Yeah.
we do the Jefferson Airplane?
Jefferson Airplane. While I'm not here.
Nigel's suggestion.
Well, when you get back.
Yeah. Okay. I guess maybe
All that.
I'm just trying to think.
sampling.
So if we were to do something this Sunday, it would have to be like early afternoon. Because I'm looking up the time zone I'm gonna be in.
Hmm.
I'm gonna be GMT +3.
oh God. All right. I'm gonna find out where you are.
You're fucked.
That's in Central Europe.
Yeah, I mean, and what was EST?
I think it's -5 or -6.
So,
Yeah,
what is
so
it,
I'm gonna be like 8 hours ahead of you guys. So yeah, it'd have to be around like.
Well, you're
noonish.
gonna be like 11 hours ahead of Inky, wouldn't you?
Oof. Jesus.
Yeah, so it'd have to be around noon EST. Would make the most sense.
Your GMT +3.
Yeah.
I mean, are you back next weekend? Because we can just
Yeah,
shoot
I'll be
that.
back. I'll be back next Sunday.
That might be better. I'm going to be on the Cape this weekend. It might be either traveling or preoccupied. So, like, at least during the week or towards next weekend would probably be better for me.
Sounds
Works for
good.
me.
Next. What?
Everyone good with the surrealistic pillow though?
Sure.
No, nah,
You said no? Okay.
nah. Gotta put it off again. I don't want it to follow an S. Like, come on. I know it's not.
I don't know. If you
Begging to be
I
a
think
bee.
my screen kind of froze up a little bit, but we talked all that S talk just to land on Jefferson Airplane.
Jameis,
No,
I
I
will
mean, I'm-
fight you. But
In case anyone's wondering, Ukraine is not in GMT +3. GMT
All right, that's good. That's good. I'm a little worried.
That's
Yeah.
unrelated.
you got me.
How long are you gone for, Nigel? Reckon a while.
Around a week. Just around a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, we could go like, Beethoven, Bach, hit the old stuff.
Say
Definitely S tier.
I feel like Dan or Seamus hasn't picked in a while.
Yeah.
Dan, you want it?
Yeah, I'm kind of cooking on like coming up with a good Genesis album or a Phil Collins album. That's where my mind is at right now.
I like it.
So I could
You got
suggest.
one for us? Yeah.
All right.
Do you guys
Well,
know the No Jacket Required by Phil Collins?
Yeah. I might
Yeah,
have a
I
hot
can do
take,
that.
some hot takes, but we can do that.
We don't know. I mean,
Oh. Studio, nice.
yeah, it's that one. It's that one.
Yeah, I know that.
Would you rather do Phil Collins or Genesis?
I don't know. Because I like Genesis is like they've been around for so long and had like two distinct periods, like hardcore prog rock with Peter Gabriel and slowly becoming more poppy.
Fucking Peter Gabriel, man.
Yeah.
Back to Chicago. Dan, did we tell you about that?
What? No.
In Chicago, after the Dead Show, we were chilling on Jack's uncle's stoop. And after the Dead Show, this dude comes up and he's singing, and we don't know what he's saying. And then at some point it becomes clear he's singing Peter Gabriel. Peter Gabriel.
All he was singing just the name.
What the hell?
And he was so drunk that he was like comedically slurring his words. Like I've never heard someone so slurry in my life. This guy's singing Peter Gabriel.
That was
And
slurry.
And he overstayed his welcome by about 5 minutes, I'd say.
Is he the same guy that tried to hit the unlit joint?
Yep.
Yeah.
What a madman.
One of these, and it just wasn't lit.
Yeah. Oh man, good times.
Dude, I'm so
Oh
high
my
right
God.
now.
Basically. But no jacket required then?
Sounds
do it.
good to
Yeah,
me.
I'd say send it.
Dude,
That
so
would,
we're
that would be my choice.
never gonna do Surrealistic Pillow. It's been up there for like
It's just
3
a
months.
tease, man. It's just a
Fine with
tease.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we
Because
still
this
gotta
album
get
kind
to
of
it.
has like the opposite of the typical take. Like a lot of albums, like they have like a lukewarm reception and they're like cult classics. Like people would say that around like For Wish You Were Here. It kind of like wasn't the most appreciated album until after the fact. But like people loved No Jacket Required when it came out. And then like in the 90s and 2000s, everyone was like, this is 80s bullshit. Like this is terrible. But now I think it's amazing. I think it's some of the best the 80s has to offer.
Sweet. I'm looking forward to it.
Forward to it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Same.
It's gonna be a great flight.
Yeah, I'm more of a take off your pants and jacket. Blink 182.
Were you writing that joke down?
No, but I can't. Yeah, it probably look like it. That's an actual album. But cool. Yeah, let's book it. We still got to get to the Police and Steely Dan at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, those are all amazing recs.
Honestly, Asia probably deserves to be up ASAP because we more or less all own it. I think. I don't know.
It's not like
the million subscribers
Definitely never
special.
owned it.
subscriber special.
The million subscriber special.
Yeah,
We'll
we're
get
saving that
there
one.
now. We'll get there.
It's
Just
a marathon.
Inky, what you have to do is you have to set it on YouTube to like once we hit 1 million subscribers, it auto releases so that in like 300 years, when these videos get enough views, it just auto posts a new video from us.
Perfect. Genius.
Cool.
All right, boys. Good episode.
Yeah, that was a real fun one.
Good stuff.
Great album.
Enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Great album, indeed. Thanks,
Alrighty.
guys. See
And
ya.
we'll catch you next time
care.
on Whose Records.
Yay.
Yay. Peace.